Yes, hello and welcome to Beatin' Bees Football Happy Hour. I am Bobby, and as always, joined with my man Brian.
Glad to be back. Episode 41, and I guess we're down to our last two games to talk about, and the big one is still yet to be played. But
That's right.
end of the season, kind of sad, but hopefully we'll get a good game on Super Bowl Sunday.
A lot of people think that championship weekend we just had, Championship Sunday, is the best Sunday in sports.
Yeah, these games are pretty good, so we're gonna get into breaking them down. But yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of had one of them right, and we kind of were a little bit off on the first one. But doesn't really surprise me too much that the Bucks pulled it off. But it was a good week of football. Yeah, these games usually are somewhat close and controversial, I guess. There's always some play in there. People always love to blame it on the refs or something else. But yeah, it was a good weekend overall, I think.
Yep, and after we recap our championship weekend, we will bring on a guest, Phil Backert. We had him on earlier this season. He's a producer for SiriusXM Fantasy Radio. So he's got the inside scoop on a lot of things, a lot of knowledge rolling around there in his brain. So we're going to pick it. We're going to talk free agents. I know we dove into the quarterbacks last week. We'll touch on a couple of the big names this week, especially with the news that Matt Stafford will be on the move. And we'll also hit on some free agent running backs that are coming down the chute here in a couple months. But first, make sure, as always, we check out www.thediaperdust.com. Diaper Dust, awesome product for all of your baby diaper needs. Who wants to have smelly diapers? No one. So check out this product. It's awesome. It works. Again, it's www.thediaperdust.com. And as always, our beats are by Dunson.
Yeah, check out Diaper Dust. Order it up. We'll ship it out to you. And for all those young parents out there with kids in diapers, I'm sure it's a must-have. So order it up.
Got that right. All right, my man. The NFC title game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers took home that title after beating the Green Bay Packers 31-26 and becoming the first team in history to have a home game in the Super Bowl, as it will be played in Tampa this week. Or I'm sorry, in 2 weeks. Both quarterbacks played pretty well in this one, despite Mr. Brady throwing 3 picks along with 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. At least one of those picks, though, should be considered a punt, given the situation. It's third down. He's got a rusher in his face. He's just lobbing it up deep. If they complete it, great. If they don't complete it, they just punt it next down. And if they do complete it, it was a bomb down the field. So that's considered the punt. And another pick went off of Mike Evans' hands. So I don't know if it's tough. I mean, they count. They all do. But it's tough to blame that one on Brady completely. And the Bucks, man, they dominated the first half. They converted seemingly every third down, including a 3rd and 14 to Chris Godwin. Brady looked like the greatest QB to ever play the game. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers started, I think it was 7 for 7, I believe. He was on fire. He had 346 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick. But that Packer defense, they gave up too many plays, including a 39-yard touchdown to Scotty Miller, of all people, where he just ran by Kevin King to send Tampa into halftime, leading 21-10. All of this while Tampa receivers had 4 drops in 2 quarters. Yeah, unfortunately for Packers fans, though, Green Bay got the ball at halftime, but Aaron Jones fumbled for the second time that game, ended up hurt. I don't believe he came back on the field after that. And that fumble led to a Bucs touchdown. Cameron Brate caught one, as did Devontae Adams for Green Bay in the second half. The biggest issue for me this entire game, and I bet you agree, Brian, is that Matt LaFleur decided to kick a field goal with 2 minutes and 7 seconds to go in the game when he was down 8. You need a field goal, or you need a touchdown anyway. Even if you make that field goal, you're still down 5 and still need a touchdown. You're down 8. Why not go for the score now?
I don't know.
Then you go for the 2-point conversion, and you tie it up. But instead, he wants to give the ball back to the greatest football player to ever play with 2 minutes to go. I mean, nobody on earth thought Brady was going to give that ball back to them, and he didn't.
No, I mean, we'll probably talk about this for like a half hour because I feel the same way. I mean, when I was watching the game on third down, I mean, Aaron Rodgers looked like he could have ran it in there for the touchdown.
Wide open.
He was wide open. I mean, he could at least made it to the 2 or 3 at the worst case scenario. But I think he came out and said that he thought, I guess he said he threw it because he thought he had another down to get after it, but still,
which is stupid in and of itself, because who
Yeah.
cares if you can run it in, you run it in. So that's a completely bogus and dumb thing for Aaron Rodgers to say.
Yeah, I mean, he should have just said, like, I don't know. I was just, I was trying to throw it and just that wasn't really on my mind. But man, LaFleur, he's a good coach. I mean, look, the past 2 years, what is he, 26-6 or something like that? I mean,
Pretty impressive.
But this one stings, though. I mean, if I'm a Packers fan, I mean, obviously they're not going to fire him, but I mean, I don't think they're going to forget about this one. And Aaron Rodgers, man, I know he's probably a little bit upset that you take the ball out of his hands. I mean, a future Hall of Famer, the MVP of the year of the league this year, and you're going to kick a field goal. I mean,
that was a very Anthony Lynn-esque.
I was going to say, man, like you said, I mean, there's no way that, especially with Tom Brady being that other guy, that's on the other side of the field right there. I mean, even though you have the 2-minute warning and you have 3 timeouts, I mean, there's no guarantee you're getting the ball back. So, I mean,
why would you think you're going to get it back? What did your defense do that made you believe they were going to shut down Tom Brady in Tom Brady time?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
He was literally, Tom Brady was born to play in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, he had a bad second half. I mean, like you said, he threw 3 picks in the second half. The one, I don't really blame on him, I guess, was like a punt, like you said. I mean, it was kind of a weird play. I mean, he was under center on that play, and if he was in shotgun, I think Fournette probably would have been able to slide over and block the guy coming off the edge. But because he was under center, Fournette kind of went to the left and then tried to cut in front of him, and it was too late, and Brady just launched it up in the air. But I don't know. He played good enough to win. I mean, that throw before halftime was on the money. I mean,
he was flawless in the first half. In the opening drive, he had 2 beautiful throws to Mike Evans. One to get him a first down going down the sideline that he just lofted right over the defender into his breadbasket. And then he threw a nice pass that, granted, the defensive back, Kevin King, mistimed his jump. But again, over the defensive back, right to Evans in the end zone. He looked, Brady looked so good.
He played good enough. Missed a couple throws. I mean, he missed that one throw, I think. Was it to Godwin on the out route on the 3rd down? He kind of sailed it over his head there in the second half. I thought that was a pretty bad throw. But other than that, I mean, dude, Brady's the GOAT right now. I mean, his first year in the NFC, and this guy's going back to his 10th Super Bowl. I mean, he's already tied Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees for NFC championship wins in his first year in the NFC. And I think it said he's played in it's his 10th Super Bowl, and that's double the amount of Super Bowls ever played in, beside for any other quarterback or something like that. And
he left New England. This was supposed to stop.
Yeah, and it doesn't. And to me, though, I mean, like Matt LaFleur, to me, it just seems like it just seems like he didn't trust Rodgers to make that 4th down, or he just didn't think it was going to work. And then
I see he made a mistake.
Yeah, and then on the other side, you look at Bruce Arians before halftime. It was 4th and 3 when they threw that touchdown.
You're right.
I think they called a timeout. They were going to punt, and then they called a timeout. Brady went over there and said, I heard whatever. They were saying that, he saw something in the defensive play before, and if they lined up in that kind of defense, he wanted to go for it. He sent him out there. He gets man-on-man coverage, which to me is unreal that Mike Pettin decides to play man.
I know.
On the last play of the half, like it's like the worst thing possible that could ever happen, and it happened. And that ended up being, I mean, when you look at it like that, touchdown wins them the game. You know what I'm saying? If you take away that 7 points, Packers win 26-24. I mean, the second half would have been a completely different game, but, you just take away those 7 points, Packers win. And I don't know, Matt LaFleur is a young coach. He's still a good coach, but yeah, man, he messed up big time. And that was just an all-time, I don't know, man. That was just a coward move to me, especially when you have Aaron Rodgers out there. And I know he's probably going to have to think of a way to smooth things over with Rodgers. I don't think he's going anywhere, but
he's not
going to go anywhere, but he's definitely got to smooth over that relationship. You know what I'm saying? Aaron Rodgers probably a little mad at his head coach for that, because they didn't get back on the field, and it looked pretty bad to me.
Well, if you're a Packers fan, it's not all bleak, because like you mentioned, Aaron Rodgers, he will be back. He made a little cryptic comment at the end of the game about he's unsure. Nobody's future is certain and this and that. But the president of the Packers just came out a couple hours ago and said, absolutely no way Aaron Rodgers will be back. There's no way he's going anywhere. He'll be in a Packers uniform next year. And he said, we're not idiots.
Yeah.
And so that's gone. But also you got an MVP quarterback coming back, right? Best quarterback in the league, or at least top 3 quarterbacks in the league for sure. You got Devontae Adams, who is the best wide receiver in the game. And how about this guy, Robert Tonyan, coming out of nowhere, their tight end? He had 52 catches this season on 59 targets.
Mm-hmm.
That catch percentage was 4th in the league, behind only Jonathan Taylor, Jamal Williams, and seldom used Isaiah McKenzie, wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. Mm. So not to mention that Marquez Valdez-Scantling had the game of his life, making big catch after big catch throughout the game, including a 50-yard touchdown from Rodgers in the first half there. So, I mean, you got the arrow, even though you came up short this year, the arrow's still pointing up if you're a Packers fan.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure this one probably stings. This is 2 years in a row now. I think they've been they've been 13-3 and fall short, but you still got Aaron Rodgers and your team's still good. Still got the draft coming up, free agency. I mean, they might pick somebody up. You never know. So, but Tonyan, to me, I mean, I guess they kind of needed him. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of the wild card of the year to me because, they don't draft a receiver, but then when you just find some random tight end on your team that catches 88% of his passes and scores like 13 touchdowns, I mean, I guess that's going to set you over the top a little bit. So,
well, a useless Robert Tonyan fact and Green Bay Packer fact is that Tonyan went to Indiana State for college, and the Packers also have another tight end. I can't remember his name, who is from Indiana State. Some guy I never heard of, but I just heard him mention it in the during the game. And another interesting thing that I heard was Marquez Valdez-Scantling had 4 touchdowns of over 50 yards this season. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure he has 4 career 100-yard receiving games. So when he's got all these 50-yard touchdowns, but it's the only catch he's getting in that game. Now, granted, not the NFC Championship game. He had 118 yards receiving on 4 catches. But it's incredible that this guy can have so many long touchdowns and so few 100-yard receiving days under his belt.
He probably have a few more, but he's got a ton of drops too. So
gosh, so many.
You have Tonyan who catches 88% of his passes, and then Valdez-Scantling probably catches like 48% of his passes, or less, dude, probably like maybe. 28 or something like that. Yeah,
it's absurd.
That's pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, man, Brady's. I don't know, man. I guess the conversation is over. I mean, I think Brady just picked a team to go to. Now, granted, the Bucs have a ton of weapons, but I mean, it's hard to do that in their first year, and then he gets them to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I mean, just the fact that he got them there, he won 3, road playoff games, and they're going back to the Super Bowl, and it's just unreal to me that he just keeps doing it year in and year out. I think it's like 5 out of the last 7 or something like that. I don't know, it's something ridiculous that he goes to. So
MVS has a 52% catch percentage.
I would have took the under on that one. So
yeah, me too. But I mean, you guessed 48, I think, and 52 is not. You were in the ballpark for sure.
I was there, yeah, plus or minus a few. But Brady's the best. Brady's the best. I'll give it to him. I wrote one more thing. I did see somebody put a meme on Facebook. It was like, if you take away like the year or two that Brady got hurt, he makes the Super Bowl like 51, or it's like 10 out of 18 years or 10 out of 17 years. It's like 48% of the time he makes the Super Bowl, and Steph Curry's 3-point percentage is 43%. So it was like Tom Brady has a better percentage of making the Super Bowl than Steph Curry does to make a 3-point shot. And I was like, that's pretty wild if you put it in that perspective. But
and our friend of the show, Kevin Reynolds, shot me a text the other day and said Tom Brady has now made the Super 18. He's now played in 18% of every Super Bowl ever. So basically 1 in 5 Super Bowls he's played in history. All of the Super Bowls combined, he's played in basically 20% of all Super Bowls ever played. That's
when he retires. They might have to rename the trophy after him.
I think they really might. They might
have to.
All right, we're gonna get off the Brady bandwagon here. Move on to the AFC Championship game where the Kansas City Chiefs They'll be back in that big Super Bowl game as well after handing the feel-good story Buffalo Bills a loss in their first AFC Championship game since 1994. The final score was 38-24, and I never really got the feeling that the Bills had a chance after they went up 9-0 in the first quarter. From then on, it just felt like the Chiefs were driving the bus and doing whatever they wanted. Now, maybe I was looking for it, but it seemed like at times, not the whole game, because Josh Allen played very well, I thought, making some great plays, moving around the pocket, completing some passes, very difficult passes. But at times, it seemed like he was trying to do too much, taking sacks when he could have thrown it away, forcing some throws that maybe weren't there. But again, he played a great game, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. He also led the team in rushing with 88 yards, but that's not very hard to do when you only have, as a team, you've run the ball 10 times for 12 yards. But look, Tyreek Hill, 9 catches for 172 yards. Travis Kelce, 13 catches, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, what are the Bills going to do here? Darrell Williams, CEH, and Mecole Hardman all scored as well. And Patrick Mahomes, his QB rating was 127.6. And the Chiefs defense limited Stephon Diggs to 6 catches for 77 yards when he's gone over 100 in 5 of the last 6 games. The Chiefs were on fire. They were rolling, and nothing was going to stop them.
Yeah, this, like you said, I mean, even the Bills got up 9-0 early. I don't know. The Chiefs kind of, I think they always get behind like that, and they just like to come back, and maybe it makes it a little more exciting for them or something. But
so it's like Seabiscuit.
Yeah, I never thought at one point when Bills were up 9-0 that they were going to run away with that game. I mean, I knew at some point the Chiefs were just going to snap their finger and score a couple touchdowns. But yeah, I mean, dude, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are just unstoppable. I mean, every time he throw the ball to Tyreek Hill, like, he just doesn't stop moving. This dude's juking. I don't know. There's nobody around him, and he just jukes the air. He's just and he just catches it, and he just changes directions, and he's already full speed. It's hard. I mean, that 71-yard catch and run that he had was pretty incredible. I mean, he was like, I don't know. I think
it's pretty incredible. Somebody caught him.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how he didn't score. Yeah, he must have got tired or something. But I mean, that dude's hard to catch. I mean, dude's running like 21, 22 miles an hour down the field. Travis Kelce, I mean, he just catches everything you throw to him almost. I mean, what do you have? 13 out of 15 targets. I mean, and he should have scored a third time. He stepped out of bounds on the goal line on one of the other plays, so he could have had 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's unreal.
The main thing that keeps going through my mind, I'm watching these games, and it is incredible what a great play caller and play schemer, if you will, that Andy Reid is. Yeah. In my opinion, he is the best in the league. Who else can get superstars like Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill wide open every game? The Chiefs flat out refuse to give the ball to anybody else except Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. The other team knows these are the only 2 guys getting the ball. And one of Kelce's touchdowns, there was nobody else on the screen. Mm-mm. How does he get these superstars so wide open?
I don't know.
Hill and Kelce combined for 24 catches. All other players on the Chiefs combined for 7. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they end up wide open all the time.
Yeah, I mean, these plays, and it just seems like to me, like every time I watch them, like they come up with like 3 or 4 different plays, and you're like, man, that was pretty impressive. After you watch the replay, it's sending guys in motion, and then they stop on a dunk. I don't know. It's just sending them both directions. I mean, it's just hard to stop. And Tyreek Hill had a hell of a game, and I mean, I think it was the first drive of the game. He dropped like a 35-yard pass. He came.
You're right. Yep.
He was on the right-hand side, and he ran like a deep crossing route, almost like to the other corner. And Mahomes put it right on him. That would have been like a 35 or 40-yard pass on 3rd down. So he very well could have had 10 for 200. You know what I'm saying? That's just unreal.
And I know we're going to break down the Super Bowl, or get ready for the Super Bowl next week. Mm-hmm. But in preparation for that, all of our listeners, you need to check out Tyreek Hill's stats when the Chiefs played the Buccaneers earlier this year.
I was going to say that was the game he had 200 yards in the
first quarter.
Yeah, I forgot that was against the Bucs, and I just saw that today, and I was like, oh, that might be a little trouble. But I mean, if you're going to say one negative thing, I know they lost Eric Fisher, their left tackle. I think he
And
tore
Mitchell
his
Schwartz, I think
Achilles.
a right tackle. Schwartz is right tackle, right? I think he might be out as well.
So that might be a little bit of an issue. I mean, Fisher's been a starter all year, and they were kind of, everybody was giving him hugs and whatnot on the sideline. So that doesn't look like he's going to be making the Super Bowl. So that's tough. But man, I just feel like I know the Chiefs won it and they're the team to beat, but I don't know, man. I feel like some people kind of just were sleeping on the Chiefs a little bit. Everybody wanted the Bills to win, I think. I posted on our Facebook page, and I think, I don't know, it must have been 9 out of 10, every 10 person that commented was all on the Bills, man. So I think, I don't know, maybe it was with the Mahomes.
Feel good story.
It was with the Mahomes injury. People thought he wasn't going to play as, I guess, as good as he was, but he looked fine to me, and especially
Didn't
with
stop
another
him at all.
Yeah, with another 2 weeks, I mean, he'll be fine. If he wasn't 100% on Sunday, he'll definitely be 100% Super Bowl Sunday. But yeah, it's going to be a good game. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But
Bills Mafia.
Chiefs look tough to beat.
Right. Bills Mafia. You have an MVP candidate in Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs became one of the best wide receivers in the league. And most importantly, your offensive coordinator, Brian Dable, he'll be back. Yeah. He should be a head coach somewhere, but he decided, nope, I'm coming back to run this back again. So, yeah. No, if the Bills go out and get themselves a running back and shore up that defense a little bit, hey, they're going to be right. They're going to be in this game again next year.
Yeah, I mean, what was it last year? They lost in the second round, so they lost in the divisional round last year, and then made it to the AFC Championship game this year. I mean, I think it's good experience for Josh Allen, but like you said, at times I thought he did too much. He took a couple. I think he took 2 or 3 terrible sacks. I mean,
terrible sacks,
like sacks where you're losing 15 and 20 yards. I mean, that's just not. And I think on the one he got an intentional ground. I mean, that's like a Carson Wentz thing. I mean, that's just doing too much, and that just takes you out of that. I mean, that just ends the drive, on first and second down when you're losing 15, 20 yards on a sack. But he'll learn from that, and he'll get better. And I don't think they're going to go anywhere. I mean, they're only going to get better, I think. So I don't know about their free agents and whatnot. I didn't look into that yet. But to me, they can only get better with the draft and, with a couple guys maybe in free agency on that defense. I could see them, being in the AFC. I can see this being a rematch, in next year's AFC Championship game.
Last year, the Bills lost in the wild card round to the Houston Texans, 22-19.
All right, so they improved from the year before, but
that's when Josh Allen and the Bills were crushing the first half, and then just completely fell apart in the second half.
Yeah, so I guess they had a better year overall. So they got Stephon Diggs, and that. Him and Josh Allen is definitely a deadly combo. So they'll only get better, man. So they're not going to be going anywhere, barring some major injury to one of those guys. So they'll be back. They'll be back.
All right. Like we said earlier, we are going to get into Super Bowl predictions and get y'all prepped for the big game next week. Mm-hmm. And now I think it's time to bring in our guest.
All right. Let me see. I don't think he's ready to roll yet. Let me see. Is he in here? No, he's not ready to go yet. But what else did we have? We had
we got Eagles hired Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, so that's our new head coach we're going to have to deal with. We'll see what he does. I mean, I guess
he's that exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's new. It's changed. So he's the offensive coordinator from the Colts. And then they hired the offensive coordinator from the Chargers. So a couple of younger guys. We'll see what happens. I guess he's going to have to fix Wentz and try to smooth over that whole thing with Jalen Hurts, because I'm sure he's not going to be too happy about being back on the bench, because I think Eagles made their choice, and I think Wentz is going to be the guy. So we'll see what he can do.
Well, and this guy, obviously he did good things with Herbert and airing the ball out, which is good. But he also likes to run the ball. So this could be a improvement for Miles Sanders, although it wouldn't be hard to improve on this past season for him.
True. And the Eagles lost a couple coaches. They lost Deuce Staley and their special teams coordinator, but they did keep their offensive line coach. Was it Jeff Stoutland? He's one of the, I guess he was in running for the Alabama, some kind of job at Alabama, and he decided to stay on the staff. So that's good. I guess we can get Brandon Brooks back, and if Jason Kelsey stays and doesn't retire, I feel like he tries to retire every year. But yeah, our offensive line should be better, but we'll see. To me, it's changed. I think they might be chasing a little bit of that Frank Reich magic that they had when he was the offensive coordinator. When
At least it's not Sean McVay.
No, in 2017, yeah, you know what I'm saying. I feel like they're trying to chase that juju with Frank Reich because Sirianni coached with Reich, and Reich led the Eagles. Well, he didn't lead the Eagles, but I mean, he led that offense in 2017 when we won the Super Bowl. And Wentz was probably going to be the MVP that year. And he got hurt, so I think they're going to try to get, I guess, Sirianni's coaching style. They think is kind of similar to Frank Reich's, and they're going to try to put it in that way. But I don't really know if that'll work. But we'll see what happens. But I don't know. Other than that, the Lions hired Dan Campbell real quick before we bring Phil on. And I know we kind of touched on it a little bit last week, but he had an interesting press conference. The guy's got a lot of juice, and I think he'll be a good coach, but kind of a weird press conference when he's talking about biting people's legs and kneecaps and whatnot. So kind of scary, I guess. I don't know.
Very strange.
Very strange, but
very strange.
I don't know.
If y'all didn't hear his comments, check out the press conference from Dan Campbell. It won't be hard to find.
Yeah, check it out on YouTube. I'm sure there's 1,000 videos on that. So check that out. All right, we're going to get ready to bring on Phil here.
Okay, folks, as promised, we brought him back. Senior producer at Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, writer for Elite Fantasy, fantasyguru.com, and Pressbox Online, Phil Backert. What's up, Phil? How you doing?
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Thanks
absolutely.
for coming
on. Now, Phil, we, on top of our fantasy intellect that we like to have on you, Anthony Aniano, Joe Pisapia, we like to have athletes on as well. And I didn't realize this, Phil, but you're quite the athlete yourself, or at least you used to be. So Phil played baseball in college, and I found a quote about his stellar performance. I believe this was after your junior year, maybe 2006. But Phil Backert stepped up his game in 2006, coming off the bench with timely hitting and great defensive play. He was the spark plug off the bench the team needed that kept the Knights in many games.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
That's great, Phil.
That is a long time ago. Geez.
And if it wasn't for the pitcher Phil Kelly, you'd have been the best Phil on your team.
That's right. Phil Kelly, that's one of my best friends. So shout out to him. But college baseball, we didn't win many games. We weren't very good, but I actually made lifelong friends that I still talk to now. I mean, I graduated college in 2007. So, I love that experience, even if the wins weren't there. But yeah, it was a fun time, man. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Good stuff. I played 4 years of college football at a small school, and I'm with you. I'm some of my best friends till the day I die. I laced them up right next to them.
I love that.
Yep. All right. So we're definitely going to talk about free agent running backs, but there's at least a big name or two out there. I want to get your take on one of them being Matt Stafford. So obviously he comes to the conclusion with the Lions brass that they're going to part ways. He's going to go somewhere. So what do you think the Lions need for Stafford? And I mean, what's a spot you think he's going to go? I know we've heard they threw out the 49ers, I've heard thrown out there, and some other teams. What do you think?
So the rumor has it it's a first-round pick that they're asking for. I don't know if a first-round pick's good in net Matt Stafford. I think the second-round pick's more realistic, but I think the Lions should be asking for a first. I mean, when Stafford's healthy, I think you surround him with the right players. He's still a top 15 quarterback, 13 quarterback in the league. I think the Colts are a great spot for him, and I think the Patriots would be a great spot for him as well. Those are two landing spots immediately that come to mind that could use a Matthew Stafford. And the Colts obviously already being a playoff team, losing Phillip Rivers, and the Patriots. I mean, Bill Belichick, he's got to be sick to his stomach seeing Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, and they didn't even make the playoffs for the Patriots after he leaves. So they're going to do everything in their power to get better this offseason, and Matt Stafford would go a long way.
So if you're the Panthers, because man, I don't know why, but I see the Panthers. I'm sure they have I don't have it up in front of me right now, but I'm sure they have an early second round pick. So if they send the Panthers that early second round pick and Teddy Bridgewater to the Lions, do you think that works for both sides? And the way I see it is, you got Dan Campbell going into Detroit. He brings in Anthony Lynn, who loves to run the ball. And now they just hired Deuce Staley, who loves to run the ball. So what better if you're going to build your team around the run? Teddy Bridgewater, who Campbell coached with in New Orleans, that just seems like it'd be such a great fit.
That is a great fit. I'm glad you brought them up. Yeah, and then Stafford with Panthers. I mean, with DJ Moore and that wide receiver unit, that's actually pretty good. So
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, Bridgewater in a second. I think that's a great starting point. I mean, I'm sure they may have to throw in another draft pick or two, but I think that would be a nice little spot for him next season.
Yeah, I like that spot. I like Carolina. I think the Colts and the Patriots might be too obvious. I don't know. I like him. I think he might go to like Pittsburgh, like a Steelers. I don't know. I mean, I think Big Ben's done. I think I could see Stafford going to like the Steelers or something like that. I think he'd be good.
Schefter's already saying that like he thinks over 18 teams are going to have a quarterback change in the offseason. Yeah, I think that's a little too high.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes, buddy.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe an under the radar team is the Raiders. Green Carr. I mean, that's a possible destination too. And we can't forget that Deshaun Watson is probably getting traded. So I think a lot of these teams will give up anything that they possibly can to get him.
And that's exactly where I was headed next, to see what you thought about Watson. I mean, obviously, the Jets and the Dolphins are his top two choices. Besides those two, what do you think would be a nice spot for him?
Going back to the Panthers would be a great spot for him. The Colts would be a great spot. Patriots. I mean, any team outside of 12 that already have established franchise quarterbacks. I would give up multiple first round picks and second and thirds for him personally. Oh, yeah. I think next to Mahomes, he is the most talented quarterback in football. And and he's still young. I would just give up anything for him.
So I made a post on our Facebook page. I had asked if I feel the same way you do it. I had asked if you would think the Jaguars will give up the number one pick and maybe another first round pick for Deshaun Watson. What do you think about that? Would you make that pick or make that trade if you were the Jags or no?
I would rather have the known commodity, and that's Deshaun Watson. But when you can get a guy like Trevor Lawrence and it's going to be the lesser of a contract on the rookie contract, I think they probably would not do that. But the Jets definitely in that position, I would. But the Jags are going to be in good hands, man. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be that starting quarterback for the next decade. And who knows, maybe we're talking about him at the level of Deshaun Watson here in 3 years from now.
I agree, man. I watched that kid in high school, believe it or not. He was on that Trent Dilfer high school quarterback thing he had. And I'm like, this kid is walking around here. He's so smug. He's going to get to Clemson in his big-time D1 football, and he's going to get his butt whooped. Man, he rolled in there as a freshman and just started lighting it up. Now, I'm never going to doubt him again. I'm on Trevor Lawrence. I got you, buddy. You do your thing, man. I got faith in him.
Yeah, I mean, he's the perfect new age quarterback. I mean, he can run. Probably ran a little too much, especially in that playoff game. But he doesn't need to run. He's not like Justin Fields. Not like what we've seen with Lamar Jackson. And he can just sling it. I mean, that arm strength and accuracy is top of the line. So he's going to be special. And I think the Jags, they are going to love every second of having Trevor Lawrence for hopefully the next decade.
Last thing on Watson before we move on to running backs, and this scares me, is a lot of people out there, Watson holds all the cards. He's got his no trade clause. He's going to pick where he wants to go. Yeah, he gets to pick where he wants to go, but the Texans still decide if he goes. And I don't want this to end up, because Watson obviously hates the Texans. I don't want this to be a Barry Sanders situation, because if Watson plays hard ball, the Texans, they are in control, whether the media and, the outside people feel that way or not.
Yeah. And I think it might start a bad precedent. I mean, we see this in the NBA all the time now. I mean, we just saw with James Harden a couple weeks ago that they're dictating where they're going. And you're an employee. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. Deshaun Watson is an employee of the Houston Texans. Obviously, the Texans are making a lot of money because of Deshaun Watson. But I think once we start getting these guys dictating where they can go and showing that they have more power than the organization, that's a tough precedent. So I think this is a situation they need. It's really ugly. We don't usually see stuff like this. So I think this is once every couple years spot where NBA, it's usually every couple months, it seems like. But I think both parties need to separate from itself. And the good news is Deshaun Watson's still in his prime, and a lot of teams want him, and a lot of teams need a quarterback. That the Texans will at least get some kind of return back for trading him.
Yeah, to me, it's tough because, I mean, that's obviously why they don't have a head coach at this point. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, they probably know Deshaun Watson's obviously probably going to roll somewhere else, but I mean, they're the only team left that doesn't have a head coach. And I mean, this is kind of hurting them a little bit, but
I mean, they put themselves in this situation. When you trade DeAndre Hopkins, that was just a bad move.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really done anything that says, hey, we want to win. And I think because of that, Deshaun Watson's had enough.
Yeah. And like you said, I thought it was weird in the very beginning. When you first heard that report, the first thing they had said was that he wants to be traded to the Dolphins. And you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that was just weird. It was like right off the bat, it was Deshaun Watson wants to go to the Dolphins, and, they're going to trade Tua to the Texans and whatnot. I thought that was kind of a weird thing to put out there. It's one thing to say you want to get traded, but like you said, him picking where he wants to go, I think is not really a good precedent that these NFL owners want these players to start doing. So I don't know, but I think.
And Dolphins giving up on Tua after 1 year would be crazy too.
Yeah. To me,
I think it's probably smart. I don't know if Tua is going to be this
as good as Deshaun, but yeah.
But it is weird. I mean, we did see it with the Cardinals a few years ago with Josh Rosen, but it would seem like, hey, they did a top 5-6 pick for him and then give up that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
All right. Well, change gears here. Staying on the offensive side of the ball, though, I got 5. There are a ton of free agent running backs. I got 5 guys, though, that I think could possibly be starters. And you hit on any of them, all of them that you want to. I got Aaron Jones, Chris Carson, Leonard Fournette. He's coming on strong here at the end. Mike Davis, I think, earns a shot to at least to get looked at, and possibly Kenyon Drake. I mean, we got a lot of free agent running backs, but not a whole lot of top-tier talent outside of Aaron Jones.
It's going to be a weird offseason. I mean, the salary cap is going to go down 30, 40 million, and you're already at a position where running backs aren't getting the contracts that they need. Aaron Jones is the headliner, like you mentioned. I think, I mean, he's not going back to Green Bay, so it would be curious to see where he goes. I mean, going back to Texas, he could be a good fit there. They're one of the worst rushing offenses. Steelers, too. Problem with Steelers, I think they should go after Travis Etienne or Najee Harris in their draft. So do they really want to spend money on a running back? They're going to lose James Conner. So that's going to be an interesting spot for him. I think Leonard Fournette has earned himself a lot of money, and who knows, maybe he goes back to Tampa Bay after what he's doing this postseason. I think Chris Carson should go back to Seattle. Aaron Jones is the wild card because he's going to get money. I don't know. Maybe Buffalo. I think Buffalo needs a running back. I mean, Zach Moss got hurt. Singletary is just nothing at this point, I don't think, after a couple years in the league.
Agreed.
That could be a good spot for Aaron Jones is Buffalo.
If Buffalo gets Aaron Jones, I mean, that's I don't know, man. If they had Aaron Jones, they might have beat the Chiefs. I don't know. You never know, but that'd be a good spot for him. So basically, I mean, if he's going to be the only one making the most money, I mean, he's probably going to be the last guy to sign. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to sign the first contract, I'm sure. So he'll be out there for a while. If you really
look at it realistically, I mean, Pittsburgh needs a running back. Houston, I mean, they have David Johnson. They can upgrade there, but the contract-wise. The Lions now have Swift. I'm just going from the bottom of the Russian leaders. Jacksonville, but they have James Robinson now. Tampa, again, they could get Leonard Fournette signing back. The Falcons could be a good spot for someone. Todd Gurley's done. I mean, those knees.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, his explosiveness gone. So,
Hey, so Todd Gurley averaged 4 yards a tote only once from week 6 on. He rushed for 375 yards in the first 5 weeks and only 303 total for the rest of the season. Now, granted, his carries dropped too, But dude, this guy was about as explosive as a wet paper bag.
Yeah, he's done. I mean, the Rams locked him up prematurely because he was already hurt then. And I would say the one under the radar team that I love their front office, and I think they made a great hire after finally getting rid of Adam Gase. I think the Jets, they're in prime position, salary cap wise, where they're at in the draft with the amount of draft picks we just mentioned. Could they land Deshaun Watson? But that's another team that could go out and get one of these running backs that could help them.
I mean, think about that. If Deshaun Watson goes, because they can trades can start, was it like the first day of the new league year, right? Something like that.
Yep.
And that happens before free agency, if I'm not mistaken. So Deshaun Watson, if he gets traded to the Jets before free agency starts, he can call up, talk to his boy Saleh there and be like, hey, man, you need to get Aaron Jones on board. And that would be good grief. The Jets that offense would improve tremendously just by adding those two guys.
Yeah. And they have even more money that they can upgrade at defense and then the wide receivers this year too with free agency. So the Jets are actually in a good spot, as crazy as it sounds. I know they're going to miss out on Trevor Lawrence, but they can make some moves to improve that team this offseason.
You think Mike Davis deserves a shot to be leading?
I think his role is a backup role. I know he had this few big games after McCaffrey got hurt, but I think he is a great complementary running back. A lot of teams can use a complementary running back. I mean, we're now seeing it's a 2-back system. So I think, hey, he could end up going back to the Panthers and behind McCaffrey if he really wanted to. So I think a lot of teams can use a backup running back, but I don't know if he's a bell cow at this point. I mean, out of the list that you're talking about, I think Kenyon Drake could be a bell cow, but even this season, he came on strong last year at the end, but I think he's more of a complimentary running back. I think Carson and Aaron Jones at this point, if I'm looking at the list, I think those are the two guys that, all right, we could give this guy the ball 15 to 20 times a game.
Well, Kenyon Drake had 9 games where he averaged 3.6 yards a carry or less. So more than half of the season, he wasn't even coming really anywhere close to 4 yards a carry. And he only had 25 catches, which obviously that's Arizona's fault for not utilizing him there. And that's kind of what he does well. But even Chris Carson, he only averaged 56 yards a game.
Yeah, that Seattle offense is just so frustrating. I mean, early in the season, they were lighting it up. And then they just, for whatever reason, hit a brick wall and down the stretch. Cost them winning a playoff game. And then now they say they want to run the ball more. So
shit, they don't even have a running back.
Yeah,
Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde are both. I mean, do they think Rashad Penny is going to take the reins there?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm high on the NFL draft class. I don't think it's as good as last year's running back class, but I don't know if there's a guy that you're going to draft immediately outside of maybe NTN and Najee Harris. So you're going to say he is the starting running back. So I think Seattle is going to spend money. That's why I kind of think Carson should go back, but I don't know if they're going to draft someone in the first 2 rounds to get a running back.
Yeah. Well, Seattle, they're trying to, I know Doug Peterson is going to interview for the OC job there. So he'll definitely not run the ball more. So we've seen that over the last 5 years. So I don't know if they want to hire him if they're trying to run the ball, but I like
it's just frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah. I like your Aaron Jones to the Falcons. I mean, especially with Arthur Smith, the OC from the Titans. I mean, Matt, look at what he did. I mean, I'm not saying Aaron Jones is Derrick Henry, but I mean, just imagine that, those fantasy stats I think that Aaron Jones could put up with that offense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they definitely feed him the ball a ton, and I mean, he catch a ton of passes too. I mean, that could be a sleeper team. I like that move right there.
That puts if Aaron Jones goes to Atlanta, that puts him in
I was going to say, I mean,
round of fantasy drafts.
I was going to say, especially with that coach. I mean, he if you're talking about somebody who loves to run the ball, I mean, I know, he had Derrick Henry, but still that guy loves to run the ball, man. And just imagine what the kind of looks that, the touches that Jones would get. It'd be crazy.
Now, one guy I haven't heard anyone mention anywhere is Marlon Mack. Everybody forgot about him because he got hurt this year, didn't play. Just a year ago, he had 1,100 yards and he only had 14 catches. But he did have 3 catches in the first game this year. So he was, already way on his way to blow that 14 catches from the previous season out of the water before he got hurt. But now you got to see how he comes back from his injury and everything. But are we forgetting about Marlon Mack?
I think we are. And what's surprising is he's only 24 years old. It feels like he's been in the league for a few years.
Wow,
now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's only 24, so he's not even close to that 30-year-old running back wall or whatever. I actually had Marlon Mack at Dynasty, so I'm very interested to see where he goes. I think he can be a starting running back. He showed that last year. I think he probably would have held on to the job for a few weeks over Jonathan Taylor. Even after he got hurt, Taylor struggled. So I think Mack would have held on to the starting job for the Colts for at least half the season if he stayed healthy. So I'm a big Marlon Mack guy. And I think because of his injury, a team's going to get him cheap, man. He may not come into camp as a starter, but he would be a guy immediately on a radar depending on where he lands. I think he's really talented.
So he's going to be the guy that tick us off in fantasy because he's going to go somewhere and do just enough to get too much playing time.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, he's going to be one of them guys that's going to, like you said, he's not going to get paid a ton, but, a team that's looking for that second running back to throw in the mix with maybe somebody younger. Well, I mean, he's only 24, but, a team that has a young running back, like a rookie or a first-year or second-year guy, to add Marlon Mack into that backfield. I mean, yeah, I think that would be a hell of a move for him.
Even
I think, career-wise.
I could see Denver going. Philip Lindsay's a free agent. Melvin Gordon's older now. They can get a complimentary running back at this point as well. And maybe in the draft that they go that route, but one of these guys like Marlon Mack, again, a cheap guy that could come in and complement Melvin Gordon, that could be a nice little spot.
Speaking of Philip Lindsay, you just brought up, he's a free agent, and this guy gets less than zero love. He battled injuries all year this year, but he had over 1,200 scrimmage yards both years prior to this one. Why does this guy get – I mean, nobody pays attention to him. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, because he came out undrafted. I mean, that's the only explanation I can really come up with is that he's just not a guy that had a high pedigree. So I think he is talented.
Total yards in 2 years.
Yeah, I know. The one downfall is this year he only caught 7 passes, which is kind of surprising. Yeah. But that, again, goes to just not having the full playing time. It is crazy. It's going to be interesting to see where these running backs go. I really think we're going to be waiting for a while for some of these guys. I mean, now Mark Ingram's a free agent. He's over 30, so that's going to be a bad spot for him. James Conner's had a lot of productive years, but he's going to be a free agent. So it's going to be a while to see where some of these guys go.
This was a weird year for Conner. I mean, he started with 4 of 6 games. The first 4 of the first 6 games, he had over 82 yards rushing or over, but then he only went over 47 yards once in the 8 games after that. And granted, Pittsburgh started throwing the ball every single play, but his yards per carry were down as well, and they completely ignored him in the passing game. So I don't know if that speaks to the offense Pittsburgh was trying to run or the fact that they knew he was, falling apart. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Roethlisberger fell in love with throwing to these wide receivers, and that was it. I mean, usually the running back in the Pittsburgh offense is a guy that's going to catch a lot of passes. I mean, that's what we've seen for years. So, and now they got a new offense coordinator, so we're going to see if things change this coming season. But I think Conner's on the downside now of his career, so he's probably more of a complimentary back at this point too.
Last one for me that I think is flying under the radar is James White. Very odd usage this year. I mean, he's one of the best pass catching backs in the NFL, but had his least targets and receptions since 2015 this year, catching balls from Cam Newton. But he does have an 87 catch season under his belt. So I think this could be a great pickup for a team that needs a third down back.
And I think that team would be the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think at this point, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, they drop a lot of passes. We see it all the time. Again, Fournette's a free agent, so we'll see what happens with that. But I could see James White having a reunion with Tom Brady and becoming that third down running back again.
That'd be pretty wild. I didn't think of that one. What do you think about Adrian Peterson? I know he's I think he's like 36 or 37. You think he'll retire, or you think he's still going to try to play?
It seems like he just continues to want to play. So I think eventually a team's just going to say, we're not signing you. And that could be it's going to force him to retire.
We keep thinking that about Frank Gore too, but that doesn't seem to be happening.
It's crazy how these guys.
Who's also a free agent, mind you.
Yeah. They're probably training camp pickups after a couple injuries in preseason.
And then they're going to get 80, 95 carries during the season, score a couple of touchdowns. We'll be talking about him here next year.
Oh yeah, they're going to vulture the touchdowns inside of 5. We know how this goes.
You got anybody else there, Brian?
Well, I know me and you had talked about, I guess Jeff Wilson just signed back with the 49ers, right? I mean, you told me that right before we came on. So I think McKinnon's a free agent too. You think he'd stay, or do you think he's rolling? He's going to go somewhere else probably, right?
Yeah, and I believe Tevin Coleman's a free agent too.
So
that's
Wilson's
another
gonna
guy
be that guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Coleman's missed 10 games the last 2 years. He doesn't have like the spark plug explosion that he had in McKinnon. I mean, that poor guy, he's falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like these landing spots are just going to be, I don't know. I think at this point they're hoping for injuries in August, and you might see some of these guys hold out because of that. They're not going to get the contract that they want at the beginning of the offseason, and then they just got to wait and see what happens during the preseason.
You still got guys like Matt Breida, Gus Edwards. I doubt Baltimore lets Gus Edwards walk, but Edwards, he had over 130 carries this year and averaged 5 yards a carry in every season. He's averaged 5 yards a carry in every season he's played. So I don't know. Now he's a restricted free agent, but
yeah, it sounds like they're going to give him a second round tender because I think they're a little afraid that some team's going to scoop him up.
They should be.
Yeah. So we'll see if he gets another year in Ravens system, which I think at this point that's going to happen. Him and Dobbins next year.
And you got the other ageless wonder, Frank Gore, right? He's a free agent.
Oh man.
Frank Gore, he's going to play until his son can play with him, probably.
I hope it happens too.
Yeah. Hope he goes somewhere.
Who is this really is the last one for me. Who is Malcolm Brown? I mean, I don't know what this guy, I don't know what he is. He had double-digit carries 4 times, but he had 3 or less carries 8 times. I mean, he was pretty efficient when he had his double-digit carry days when the Rams tried to use him, but I have no idea what to think of him.
Yeah. Again, is he more of a system running back, or just that's tough to know? I mean, the Rams are in great hands now with Cam Akers. That guy is just going to be a stud. I haven't looked at early ADPs if there's been some early drafts, but
I bet.
Yeah, he's more of a second round pick, but he maybe could slide in the back end of the first, but I think at this point he's probably more of a second round.
Yeah, man. It's tough not to start thinking of getting ahead of ourselves and thinking about fantasy next year. I mean, we're half a year away, but I'm pumped for it.
Well, I'm pumped because I love all these rookie running backs from this past season. I want every one of them. I think they're all in prime position. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to slip into the 3rd or 4th round because of injuries, and people are upset that they wasted a top 10 pick on him this past year. Cam Akers is going to be a stud. DeAndre Swift showed that he can be a stud. I think J.K. Dobbins is in a great spot with the Ravens offense. So these rookie running backs from this past year are going to be I think win a lot of people championships next year.
And I subscribe to the Jeff Mann's theory of following the coaches. And like I mentioned earlier, Dan Campbell, Anthony Lynn, Deuce Staley, all in Detroit. They love to run the ball. So I'm all about Swift this year.
I love that. Yeah, and I think that's what people miss a lot. I mean, they just start doing their research in August, and people like us, we do it all year long. We know that these coaches have switched teams and they're bringing their system. What have they done the last 4 years on their old team that they're going to do in the new team? So this is why I love it. I do football all year round because of this. So when the people start drafting in August, we're already way ahead of them.
Got that right. All right. Well, real quick, everyone listening out there, make sure you check out our sponsor, Diaper Dust, www.thediaperdust.com. All those nasty, smelly diapers, don't worry about them. Don't let them be a hassle. Buy this product, order it online. Trust me, it will save your sense of smell. It is a fantastic product and a fantastic gift. Now, Phil, tell everybody out there, where can we find you? How can we listen to that beautiful voice of yours and read all those wonderful articles you write?
Yeah, Elite Sports, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Fantasy, Sirius 210 XM87. You'll hear Jeff Mann's ranting and raving about Aaron Rodgers being a loser and things like that. So that's good. And then I'm on fantasyguru.com doing IDP coverage. Maybe before next season, we talk some IDP.
Yes.
I love it. So do a little IDP. And then with fantasy baseball coming up, I do fantasy baseball stuff for PressBoxOnline.com. So I'm all over the place. Hit me up on Twitter at Phil Backert. Love to talk
Phil
some
Backert.
sports.
Nice.
Awesome. And seriously, folks, listen, I've been playing fantasy sports since I was 12 years old. So, I mean, we're talking more than 20 years. And without a doubt, Elite Sports on SiriusXM Fantasy is the best fantasy show on any radio I've ever heard. It's the best. Jeff Mans, Phil Backert, everybody they get on there is fantastic. So if you got SiriusXM Radio, definitely check that out 4 to 6 for sure. All right. That's it, Brian.
All
Let's
right.
roll
Wraps
out
it
of
up.
here.
Yep. We're going to, obviously, we always post our video so that we can watch this lovely video on Facebook tomorrow. And, check the download out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify. It'll all be out there tomorrow morning. So check us out. Keep following us. Give us likes, comment, and let us know what you think. So thanks for everybody for tuning in. And we'll catch you next week.
Thank you, Phil. See you, folks.
See you guys.